Why did Leonardo da Vinci, the greatest genius in history, write backwards and hide his inventions in impossible codes? The answer will send chills down your spine because it reveals a brutal truth that most people prefer to ignore about what happens when you're too brilliant for your own good. Da Vinci discovered in the most painful way possible that genius awakens something primitive and dangerous in people around you. A compulsive need to steal, copy, and destroy what they cannot create. Leonardo wasn't just the artist of the Mona Lisa you know from history books. He was a military engineer creating revolutionary weapons, inventor of functional flying machines, and designer of war technologies that could decide the fate of entire nations. His inventions were worth more than kingdoms, and there were people willing to kill to obtain them. But here's what they didn't tell you in school. Da Vinci was systematically spied on, betrayed and robbed by practically everyone he trusted. Close assistants copied his secret drawings and sold them to rival armies. Patrons who funded his work stole projects to use against their own enemies. Even other artists infiltrated spies into his workshop to discover the secrets behind his revolutionary techniques. Have you ever had an innovative idea at work and watched a colleague present it as if it were theirs? Have you developed a project and discovered that someone got inspired and created something suspiciously similar? Have you trusted confidential information to the wrong person and seen that information used against you? If you've been through this, Da Vinci would perfectly understand your pain. The difference is that with him, this happened with inventions that could change the course of human history. Leonardo was by nature a confident genius. He believed that sharing knowledge would elevate all humanity, that brilliant minds would collaborate to create a better world, that genius would be respected and protected for its contribution to society. He was devastatingly wrong about human nature. But Da Vinci had something most intellectual espionage victims don't have: an analytical mind capable of transforming betrayal into science. When he realized he was being systematically attacked by spies and idea thieves, Leonardo didn't become paranoid or reclusive. He did what he always did with any challenge, applied his genius to decipher patterns and create solutions. And what Da Vinci discovered about spies: saboteurs and genius predators will revolutionize how you protect your own ideas, because he identified behavioral signs as precise as his laws of physics. Leonardo discovered that people who want to steal your creativity, your projects, and your potential follow predictable behavioral sequences. Like viruses that attack healthy cells, they have specific signatures that can be detected before they cause irreparable damage. Leonardo developed the first counter-espionage system in history. Techniques to identify spies before they stole his secrets, methods to create information traps that revealed traitors, and strategies to build mental fortresses that protected his genius from the envious who would always try to destroy it. Even more fascinating, Da Vinci didn't just learn to protect himself. He discovered how to transform espionage attempts into weapons against the spies themselves, how to use others' greed as fuel for his own protection, and how to create disinformation, networks so sophisticated that his enemies wasted years pursuing impossible technologies. Today, you'll discover exactly how Leonardo transformed from naive victim into master spy, because the first method Da Vinci developed was born from the most devastating betrayal of his life, a betrayal that almost destroyed his career, but taught him the first universal law of predatory behavior. But before revealing this first revolutionary technique that can completely change how you identify spies and idea thieves around you, I need to make a request that might seem simple, but makes all the difference for those watching this video. If you've come this far, if you recognize that you need to learn to protect your creations and projects from people who want to drain your genius, leave your like on this video now. It's not just to help the channel, it's for you to commit to this discovery that can save years of your life from intellectual theft and professional frustration. And even more, importantly, write in the comments, "My ideas were stolen," if you've experienced the devastating experience of having your projects copied, your innovations inspiring other people, or discovering that someone close was passing your confidential information to third parties. It could have been that colleague who presented your strategy as if it were theirs, that person who coincidentally launched something similar to your project, or even someone who discovered your plans and leaked them to competitors. Don't be ashamed. Da Vinci went through this hundreds of times before developing his counter-espionage science. When you write this publicly, you're not just commenting. You're freeing yourself from the weight of carrying this betrayal alone. You're admitting that you deserve better protection, that your ideas have value, and that you're ready to learn how to shield your creativity against modern predators. And mainly, you're connecting with thousands of other brilliant minds who lived the same pain of seeing their genius drained by unscrupulous people. Because this isn't like other channels that throw empty historical curiosities at you. We're a community of people who understood that to create something extraordinary in the modern world, we first need to learn from past geniuses who faced the same predators that exist today. People who understood that having brilliant ideas isn't enough. You need to know how to protect those ideas from corporate spies, professional saboteurs, and creativity vampires who will always try to drain what you build. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, click the subscribe button now. It's not just because you'll receive notifications of upcoming videos about genius protection and historical counter-espionage. It's because you're declaring that you're part of a select group of people who want to apply the wisdom of history's greatest masters to shield their own creativity. You're saying you refuse to continue being an ordinary person who accepts having their ideas stolen and gets mediocre results. Every video we create here is a masterclass based on protection methods that the greatest geniuses, inventors, and strategists developed to defend their creations. Da Vinci is just the beginning. We have Tesla revealing how to detect saboteurs, Machiavelli showing how to identify traitors, and an entire library of intellectual protection techniques that can completely revolutionize your ability to create without fear. Now back to Da Vinci's most shocking method. It all began in 1482, when Leonardo trusted the wrong assistant and almost lost the inventions that could have changed the destiny of war forever. It all began in 1482, when Leonardo trusted the wrong assistant and almost lost the inventions that could have changed the destiny of war forever. It was the height of his creative youth in Milan, when Da Vinci was dazzled by the infinite possibilities of his mind and naive about the darkness that can inhabit the human heart. Leonardo had just finalized his most revolutionary projects for flying machines. Not the romantic sketches we see in museums today, but detailed and functional technical plans for aircraft that could actually fly. Additionally, he was developing mobile cannons, armored tanks, and catapults that would make any army invincible. These were inventions centuries ahead of their time, and Da Vinci knew he was creating the future of military engineering. But Leonardo had a problem many geniuses face. He was too brilliant for his own ability to protect his creations. His ideas flowed so rapidly that he needed help documenting everything. That's when Marco appeared, a young artisan apparently talented who offered to be his principal assistant. Marco spoke the language Da Vinci wanted to hear. Genuine admiration for Leonardo's genius, passion for innovation, dreams of revolutionizing the world through engineering. Leonardo didn't just hire Marco, he treated him like a son. He shared not just his technical projects, but his most intimate theories about flight, his secret observations about human anatomy, even his speculations about machines that could amplify human strength. Da Vinci genuinely believed he was forming the next great inventor, passing the torch of genius to a young and promising mind. What Leonardo didn't realize was that Marco had a completely different agenda. While Da Vinci dreamed of scientific progress and benefit to humanity, Marco calculated how much each project would be worth on the black market of military intelligence. While Leonardo imagined collaboration and mentorship, Marco planned the greatest intellectual theft in Renaissance history. The betrayal happened in the cruelest possible way. At the moment of Da Vinci's greatest vulnerability and trust, Leonardo had been invited to present his military projects to the Duke of Milan, Ludovico Sforza, in a meeting that could guarantee funding for his inventions and establish him as the principal military engineer of the era. It was the opportunity that would change his life forever. On the night before the crucial presentation, Da Vinci worked late, finalizing the most impressive drawings of his war machines. Marco was by his side, supposedly helping with final details, asking technical questions that seemed born of genuine curiosity. "Master, how exactly does the propulsion mechanism of this catapult work?" "Leonardo, could you explain again the targeting system of this mobile ballista?" Leonardo answered each question with paternal enthusiasm, detailing not just the functioning, but the principles behind each innovation. He was radiant, excited to share his genius with someone who seemed truly fascinated. Marco took careful notes, and Da Vinci interpreted this as admirable dedication from a zealous assistant. What Leonardo didn't know was that each of Marco's questions had been carefully planned to extract specific information. Each clarification that Da Vinci offered was being memorized not to learn, but to sell. Marco wasn't just a curious assistant. He was a professional spy infiltrated, paid by the Duke of Milan's rivals to discover exactly what revolutionary weapons Leonardo was developing. The presentation to the Duke was a triumphant success. Ludovico Sforza was impressed with Da Vinci's machine genius and immediately offered generous funding to develop an arsenal that would make Milan invincible. Leonardo left, the meeting ecstatic, feeling that finally his inventions would receive the recognition and resources they deserved. But 3 weeks later, Da Vinci's world collapsed devastatingly. Reports arrived that rival armies, specifically the forces of Venice and Florence, were building war machines suspiciously similar to the inventions Leonardo had privately presented to the Duke. They weren't just vague inspirations, but precise technical replicas of his most secret projects. Leonardo initially refused to believe the evidence. There must be a logical explanation, he thought. Perhaps other inventors had reached the same conclusions independently. After all, the laws of physics are universal. But when he saw detailed drawings of his mobile catapults being used by Milan's enemies, when he witnessed prototypes of his armored tanks being tested by hostile armies, brutal reality hit him like a hammer. Someone had stolen his secrets, someone close, someone he trusted. The investigation Da Vinci conducted was meticulous and painful. He analyzed every person who had access to his projects, every moment when he had shared technical information, every conversation about his inventions. And all paths led back to Marco, the assistant in whom he had placed paternal trust, whom he had treated as an intellectual successor. When he finally confronted Marco, confirmation of the betrayal was even more devastating than Leonardo had imagined. Marco showed no remorse or shame. He had sold Da Vinci's secrets for a sum that, to him, was worth more than loyalty or gratitude. Worse still, Marco revealed he wasn't just a greedy opportunist, but part of an organized industrial espionage network that had identified Leonardo as a high-value target. If you're recognizing these signs of intellectual espionage in your own experiences, if you're remembering moments where you should have paid more attention to overly specific questions or excessive interest in technical details, write Marcos exist today in the comments and prepare yourself, because it was in that moment of total devastation that Da Vinci had his first revolutionary epiphany about the nature of spies and developed the technique that would forever change how he protected his creations. But before we understand the genius method Leonardo developed, we need to understand the depth of trauma this betrayal caused in the psyche of history's greatest genius. What happened to Da Vinci in the days following discovery of Marco's betrayal was a psychological transformation so brutal it changed not just how he worked, but how he viewed human nature itself. Leonardo went from a confident and open young inventor to someone who questioned every word, every gesture, every expression of interest in his creations. The sleepless nights began immediately. Da Vinci walked through his empty workshops, observing every corner where Marco had worked, every table where they had collaborated, every project they had developed together. The feeling of violation was physical, as if someone had invaded not just his mind, but his creative soul. Every invention seemed contaminated by the memory of how he had been manipulated and exploited. Even more devastating was the perception of how he had been systematically deceived. Da Vinci began to recall, with painful clarity, all the moments when Marco had asked overly specific questions, all the times he had shown excessive interest in technical details, all the occasions when he had requested clarification about commercial or military aspects of the inventions. What Leonardo had interpreted as thirst for knowledge was, in fact, methodically planned espionage. The impact went beyond professional. It was existential. Da Vinci realized he had been chosen as a target not by chance, but for his own genius. The more brilliant he became, the more he attracted predators disguised as admirers. It was like discovering that his own talent functioned as a magnet for spies and saboteurs who saw his creations not as art or science, but as opportunities for profit and power. For weeks, Leonardo isolated himself completely. He cancelled meetings with patrons, interrupted ongoing projects, dismissed all remaining assistants. For the first time in his life, the man who dreamed of sharing knowledge with all humanity closed the doors of his workshop even to close friends. Paranoia wasn't irrational, it was scientific. If Marco had managed to infiltrate so easily, how many other spies could be disguised among his relationships? But here's where Da Vinci's genius manifested unexpectedly. Instead of becoming bitter or permanently reclusive, Leonardo channeled his pain into scientific curiosity. He began studying betrayal as he studied anatomy, with surgical precision, seeking to understand mechanisms, patterns, laws that governed predatory human behavior. Da Vinci realized that just as there were physical laws governing movement and energy, there must be behavioral laws governing espionage and betrayal. If he could identify these laws, he could not only protect himself, but develop methods to detect spies before they caused damage. The first crucial observation Leonardo made was about his own reactions during the collaboration period with Marco. He realized he had ignored subtle signs, not from incompetence, but from wanting to believe in human goodness. Every overly technical question, every excessive interest in military applications, every request for clarification about commercial aspects had been a red flag he had consciously suppressed. Leonardo began recalling other suspicious moments in his career. Previous assistants who had mysteriously disappeared after having access to important projects, colleagues who asked strangely specific questions about his techniques, patrons who demonstrated excessive interest in technical details versus genuine interest in art or science. It was during this painful retrospective analysis that Da Vinci had his first great revelation about espionage. Spies don't ask random questions. They have specific agendas, information they need to collect, details they were instructed to discover. And these agendas create identifiable patterns in the type of curiosity they demonstrate. Leonardo realized that Marco had never asked about the philosophical principles behind his inventions, about the mathematical beauty of his solutions, or about the broader implications of his discoveries for human progress. Marco was only interested in technical specifications, necessary materials, production costs, and practical military applications. It was commercial curiosity disguised as intellectual fascination. This discovery was revolutionary because Da Vinci realized he could create tests to differentiate between genuine interest and disguised espionage. If he could identify the type of questions spies ask versus the type of questions genuinely curious minds ask, he could detect infiltration before secrets were compromised. Even more brilliantly, Leonardo began to glimpse the possibility of using this difference as a weapon. If spies had predictable patterns of curiosity, he could feed them false but convincing information, creating traps that would reveal not just the presence of spies, but their connections and objectives. If you're recognizing these patterns in your own professional experiences, if you've already noticed that certain people ask overly specific questions about your projects, write, "I recognize these signs" in the comments. Because it was exactly this perception that led Da Vinci to develop his first revolutionary spy detection technique, a method as simple as it was genius that anyone can apply today. But to understand the desperate urgency behind this discovery, we need to dive into the brutal and dangerous world Leonardo lived in. where information was literally worth more than gold, and where a single stolen project could decide the fate of entire empires. The Italian Renaissance wasn't the romantic era of art and beauty we imagine today. It was a period of constant war, political betrayal, and industrial espionage on a scale never seen in human history. Each city-state was a kingdom in miniature, fighting desperately for survival against equally ambitious and unscrupulous neighbors. Milan against Venice, Florence against Pisa, Rome manipulating everyone against everyone. And at the center of this political storm was Leonardo da Vinci, creating weapons that could tip the balance of power to any side. Da Vinci wasn't just the artist who painted elegant portraits. He was secretly the most dangerous military engineer in Europe. His workshops hid weapon projects so revolutionary they could make any army invincible and any fortress useless. Mobile cannons that fired with devastating precision, armored tanks that crushed enemy infantry, military bridges that allowed surprise attacks through impossible terrain, and most astounding, flying machines that could perform aerial reconnaissance and attacks from the sky. Imagine possessing the only military drone technology in the world in the 15th century. Imagine having the only functional designs for mobile artillery in an era when most cannons were fixed and imprecise. Imagine controlling the only plans for fortifications that were genuinely impenetrable. This was Leonardo's position, and he had no idea how dangerous this position was. Every drawing Da Vinci created was worth the equivalent of millions of current dollars. Every military innovation he developed could save or destroy thousands of lives. Every engineering technique he perfected could change the political map of Europe. And there were people, many people, willing to kill to gain access to these secrets. The problem was that Leonardo thought like a scientist, not a military strategist. He saw his inventions as contributions to human progress, not as weapons that could be used against him. When he created a more efficient catapult, he dreamed of the mathematical elegance of his solution. When he designed impenetrable fortifications, he marveled at the geometric principles involved. Leonardo was too brilliant to perceive he was creating targets on his own head. The espionage network that formed around Da Vinci was sophisticated beyond what any modern person can imagine. They weren't just greedy assistants like Marco. There were professional spies infiltrated as art buyers, patrons, interested in funding science, other inventors seeking collaboration, and even servants and suppliers planted to observe and report every conversation, every visitor, every project under development. Venice maintained at least 3 permanent spies trying to discover Leonardo's military secrets. Florence had offered fortunes to anyone who could get complete plans for his war machines. Even distant powers like France and Spain sent disguised agents trying to infiltrate Da Vinci's inner circle. Leonardo had become, involuntarily, the most hunted man in Europe. Most frightening was how this espionage affected every aspect of his life. Da Vinci couldn't trust anyone. Every new assistant could be a spy. Every interested patron could be financing his art to gain access to his military projects. Every fellow inventor could be collecting information to sell to rivals. Even his closest friends became suspects, because the amount of money offered for his secrets could corrupt anyone. And there was something even more sinister. Da Vinci began to realize he wasn't just being spied on. He was being actively sabotaged. Projects that should work perfectly failed mysteriously. High-quality materials were replaced by inferior versions. Assistants made mistakes that delayed crucial work. Some of his inventions were deliberately sabotaged to appear defective, discouraging patrons from funding his research. Leonardo understood he had become such a valuable target that eliminating his ability to create was almost as important as stealing his creations. If rivals couldn't obtain his secrets, they would try to destroy his productivity, force him into isolation, or even cause accidents that seemed natural, but would neutralize his genius forever. The psychological pressure was unbearable. Da Vinci lived in constant hypervigilance, analyzing every word he heard, every gesture he observed, every person who approached. His brilliant brain, which should have been focused on creating wonders for humanity, was being forced to function as a 24-hour threat detection system. It was during a particularly dark night when Leonardo realized he had spent more time that day analyzing possible threats than creating art or science, that he had his second great epiphany. It wasn't enough to just detect spies after they appeared. He needed to develop systems that detected them before they got close, that identified them the moment they showed interest, that neutralized them before they could cause damage. If you've ever felt this way, constantly analyzing who might be trying to take advantage of you professionally, write "I live in hypervigilance" in the comments. And it was from this desperate need for protection that Da Vinci's first revolutionary test was born, a technique so simple that anyone can apply it, but so effective that it revealed spies at first meeting. And it was from this desperate need for protection that Da Vinci's first revolutionary test was born, a technique so simple that anyone can apply it, but so effective that it revealed spies at first meeting. Leonardo called this discovery il test dello specchio, the mirror test, because it worked by reflecting back people's true intentions through the type of curiosity they demonstrated. The technique was born from an apparently simple but psychologically profound observation that Da Vinci made during his weeks of isolation and reflection after Marco's betrayal. Leonardo realized there was a fundamental and identifiable difference between how people genuinely fascinated by knowledge reacted to his inventions versus how disguised spies reacted to the same information. During a melancholic afternoon in his workshop, Da Vinci decided to conduct a controlled experiment. He invited two people to see his drawings of a new catapult: a young engineering student who had demonstrated genuine interest in mathematics and physics, and a merchant who claimed to want to fund military projects in exchange for profit participation. Leonardo presented exactly the same invention to both, but observed their reactions with the precision of a scientist studying specimens. The student asked questions that revealed pure intellectual fascination. "Maestro, how did you calculate the optimal launch angle? What mathematical principles govern the relationship between string tension and projectile range? Could this solution be applied to other ballistics problems?" His questions were born from curiosity about scientific foundations, about the elegance of the solution, about the broader implications of the discovery. The merchant, on the other hand, asked completely different questions. How many men would be needed to operate this machine? What would be the production cost of one unit? What type of specific materials would be necessary, and where could we obtain them? Would this catapult be effective against what types of fortifications? How long would it take to train soldiers to operate it? Da Vinci was fascinated by the difference. The student wanted to understand the principles behind the invention, how it worked and why it worked. The merchant wanted operational information, how to build, how to use, how to profit. Two different minds asking fundamentally different questions about the same creation. But the most revealing discovery came when Leonardo deliberately mentioned a technical limitation of the catapult, a minor stability problem on irregular terrain he was still trying to solve. The student immediately became interested in the problem itself, offering theoretical suggestions and asking if other inventors had faced similar challenges. The merchant, however, asked a question that chilled Da Vinci's blood. Would this limitation be apparent to enemy engineers if they examined the machine on the battlefield? At that moment, Leonardo understood he had discovered something revolutionary. Spies didn't just ask different questions. They revealed their agendas through the specific type of information they sought. Spies wanted knowledge that could be implemented, replicated, or exploited. Genuine minds wanted knowledge that could be understood, expanded, or appreciated. Da Vinci began testing this theory systematically. Whenever someone showed interest in his inventions, Leonardo applied what he called prova dello specchio doppio, a technique where he deliberately shared information about two versions of the by same invention. One version that emphasized scientific beauty and innovative principles, and another version that emphasized practical applications and commercial advantages. People genuinely fascinated by knowledge naturally gravitated toward the scientific version. They asked questions about methodology, about inspiration, about connections to other knowledge areas. They wanted to understand not just the how, but the why behind each solution. Spies always became more interested in the practical version. Their questions revealed hidden agendas. Would this technique work in field conditions? What type of training would be necessary? Are there variations of this idea? Who else knows this technology? How could someone improve or modify this design? Leonardo perfected his technique by creating what he called domande specchio, mirror questions that reflected the questioner's true intentions. When someone asked about technical details, Da Vinci responded with a question. What specifically fascinates you more, the mathematical elegance of the solution or its practical efficiency? The answer always revealed whether he was dealing with a scientific mind or a commercial agenda. More sophisticatedly, Leonardo developed curiosity traps, deliberately incomplete information that tested how people reacted to knowledge gaps. Scientific minds asked questions to fill gaps and understand completely. Spies asked questions to discover if gaps hid valuable information or were simply areas Leonardo hadn't yet developed. The most brilliant aspect of the mirror test was its naturalness. Da Vinci didn't need to create artificial situations or conduct suspicious interrogations. He simply paid scientific attention to the type of curiosity people naturally demonstrated. It was like having a psychological lie detector that worked through apparently casual conversations. Da Vinci also discovered that spies had a specific characteristic that betrayed them. Consistently, they always tried to rush the information-gathering process. While genuine minds were willing to develop long relationships based on mutual learning, spies showed a subtle but detectable urgency in extracting specific information quickly. Leonardo began cataloging these differences like a scientist cataloging different species. Spies asked more questions about timelines, about who else had access to information, about where projects were stored. They demonstrated disproportionate interest in logistical versus creative aspects. And crucially, they always tried to discover not just what Da Vinci had created, but what he was planning to create in the future. The practical application of this discovery was transformative. Da Vinci began using the mirror test in all his social and professional interactions, in meetings with patrons, observing whether interest was in art and science or military applications, in conversations with potential assistants, differentiating between genuine fascination for learning and calculated curiosity. Even at social dinners, identifying who asked questions for intellectual pleasure versus who fished for information with hidden purposes. If you're beginning to analyze the type of questions people ask about your projects and ideas, if you're perceiving differences between genuine curiosity and calculated interest, write testing intentions in the comments. But Da Vinci soon realized that identifying spies was only half the battle. The other half was even more sinister. What to do with that information once you were sure you were dealing with a spy? But Da Vinci soon realized that identifying spies was only half the battle. The other half was even more sinister. What to do with that information once you were sure you were dealing with a spy? And it was here that Leonardo's genius mind developed a solution as elegant as it was cruel. A technique that would transform his own vulnerabilities into devastating weapons against those who tried to exploit him. Leonardo called his second discovery l'informazione avvelenata, the poisoned information. The technique was born from a brilliant psychological insight. If spies were addicted to collecting secret information, Da Vinci could feed that addiction with information that seemed valuable, but actually functioned as slow poison, destroying spies from within without them ever realizing they were being manipulated. The inspiration came during a sleepless night when Leonardo observed how natural poisons function in the human body. Some poisons kill instantly, alerting the victim and allowing countermeasures. Other poisons are more sophisticated. They integrate with the body's natural processes, causing progressive damage that only manifests when it's too late to reverse the effects. Da Vinci realized he could apply the same principle to information warfare. Instead of simply denying information to spies, which would alert them and make them seek other sources, he could feed them information that seemed authentic and valuable, but contained hidden defects that would sabotage any attempt to use that information against him. Leonardo's first test was masterful in its simplicity and cruelty. He identified a new assistant who clearly asked overly suspicious questions about his fortification projects. Instead of firing the spy immediately, Da Vinci decided to use him as a guinea pig for his new technique. Leonardo began sharing with the suspicious assistant the plans for a revolutionary new technique for building defensive walls. The plans were technically convincing, mathematically precise, and seemed genuinely innovative. Da Vinci even created scale models and detailed drawings that gave total credibility to the invention. The spy assistant was ecstatic, clearly believing he had discovered a military secret of invaluable worth. What the spy didn't know was that Da Vinci had deliberately inserted a fatal flaw into the design. Fortifications built using his false plans would appear impressive and solid, but would have a specific structural weak point that made them vulnerable to a particular type of artillery attack. Any army that built these fortifications would actually be creating deadly traps for their own troops. Even more brilliantly, Leonardo inserted a hidden signature into the project, a specific architectural characteristic that would allow him to instantly identify if and where his false information was being used. It was like marking each lie with unique DNA that allowed tracking its dissemination through espionage networks. The result was devastatingly effective. Within 2 months, Da Vinci began receiving reports that enemy cities were building fortifications with design suspiciously similar to his false plans. When these fortifications were tested in real combat, they failed spectacularly, causing humiliating military defeats for armies that had stolen his secrets. But Leonardo went beyond simple disinformation. He developed what he called catene dell'inganno, chains of deception, where each piece of false information was connected to other false information, creating complete systems of poisoned knowledge. If a spy stole one false engineering technique, they would naturally be led to seek other related techniques, all equally sabotaged. Da Vinci created entire libraries of false but convincing knowledge. Machine projects that seemed functional but had hidden flaws that made them explode when used. Chemical formulas that produced impressive results on small scale but became unstable and dangerous when scaled up. Artistic techniques that seemed revolutionary but caused accelerated deterioration of works over time. The most sophisticated aspect of the technique was its ability to map espionage networks. Each poisoned information that Leonardo created had unique characteristics, like a fingerprint, that allowed tracking not just who had stolen the information, but to whom it had been sold, how it had been modified, and where it was being applied. Leonardo discovered he could use poisoned information as a radar system for espionage. When his false creations appeared elsewhere, he knew instantly that he had been infiltrated, by whom and through what channels his secrets were flowing. It was like having a real-time map of all espionage operations directed against him. More disturbing still, Da Vinci realized he could use poisoned information to manipulate his enemies' decisions. If he knew certain spies reported to specific armies, he could plant false information that would lead those armies to make disastrous military decisions. Leonardo wasn't just defending himself. He was psychologically attacking his adversaries through their own espionage networks. The technique evolved into something even more sinister. Da Vinci began creating reverse spies, people he knew were spies, but who didn't know that he knew. Instead of exposing these spies, Leonardo transformed them into disinformation channels, feeding them carefully crafted lies that would sabotage the plans of whoever had sent them. The psychological impact on Da Vinci's enemies was devastating. Entire espionage networks began becoming paranoid about the quality of information they collected. Spies began distrusting each other, suspecting some might be planting false information. The very efficiency of espionage operations against Leonardo was corroded from within. Leonardo realized he had discovered something revolutionary. Well-crafted false information was more powerful than protected true information. Instead of trying to hide his secrets, a defensive strategy, He could flood the espionage market with convincing lies, making it impossible for enemies to distinguish between real intelligence and disinformation. The modern application of this technique is frighteningly relevant in the digital world, where information can be planted and tracked with precision Da Vinci never dreamed possible. If you're realizing how you could apply modern versions of poisoned information to detect leaks in your projects, write "creating traps" in the comments. But Da Vinci soon discovered that his counter-espionage techniques had attracted the attention of something much more dangerous than individual spies: organized espionage networks that operated like true information mafias. But Da Vinci soon discovered that his counter-espionage techniques had attracted the attention of something much more dangerous than individual spies: organized espionage networks that operated like true information mafias. And it was during his investigation of these networks that Leonardo developed perhaps his most disturbing technique: the ability to map hidden connections between traitors and discover how entire espionage systems functioned in the shadows. The discovery happened completely accidentally, but revealed a terrifying reality that forever changed how Da Vinci viewed the world around him. Leonardo was tracking the flow of one of his poisoned information pieces, a false military bridge project he had deliberately leaked through a suspicious assistant. He expected the information to appear in one or two rival cities, confirming his suspicions about basic espionage. What Leonardo discovered left him literally sleepless for weeks. His false information didn't just appear in multiple cities, it spread through a network so vast and coordinated that it covered practically the entire Italian peninsula. Even more frightening, the information had been modified, improved, and adapted by different groups, suggesting he wasn't dealing with amateur spies, but with a professional espionage industry. Da Vinci realized he had inadvertently created a continental-scale tracking experiment. His poisoned information functioned as a traceable virus, allowing him to map exactly how knowledge flowed through hidden networks of betrayal. And what this map revealed was more disturbing than any paranoia he could have imagined. Leonardo discovered there was a true underground espionage economy, where information was bought, sold, modified, and resold as commodities. There were professional intermediaries who never saw original information, but who facilitated transactions between collectors and buyers. There were improvers who took stolen information and enhanced it before reselling for higher prices. And there were distribution networks that ensured valuable secrets reached the right buyers at strategically correct moments. The organization was too sophisticated to be accidental. Da Vinci realized he was facing what we would today call systematic industrial espionage, a coordinated operation with clear hierarchies, function specialization, and security protocols that protected the identity of main operators. Even more disturbing, Leonardo discovered he wasn't just a target, he was a priority target. There were people whose full-time job was studying his patterns, identifying his vulnerabilities, and developing increasingly sophisticated strategies to penetrate his defenses. Da Vinci was being hunted by professionals who dedicated more time to understanding him than he dedicated to understanding himself. The technique Leonardo developed to map these networks was genius in its simplicity. He began creating different types of poisoned information, each marked with specific characteristics that allowed tracking, not just where they appeared, but how they were processed, modified, and distributed. It was like inserting different types of dye into a circulatory system to observe how blood flows through different organs. Leonardo discovered he could identify different organs of the espionage network by observing how different types of information were treated. Military information flowed through specific channels with specific modifications. Artistic information was processed by different specialists. Engineering technique information passed through improvers who clearly had advanced technical training. More frighteningly, Da Vinci realized some of his poisoned information was being corrected by people who clearly understood his real techniques better than he imagined possible. There were spies in the network who not only collected information, but who had sufficient knowledge to distinguish between his real projects and his traps. Leonardo was being studied by minds that rivaled his own. The most shocking discovery came when Da Vinci realized he could map not just information flow, but the motivations behind different parts of the network. Some segments were purely commercial, groups that sold information to the highest bidder. Others were political, operations directed by specific governments with clear strategic objectives. And some were personal, networks driven by envy, resentment, or desire to destroy Leonardo simply because his genius offended smaller people. Leonardo developed what he called La Mappa della Corruzione, the corruption map, a visual system to track how different types of betrayal connected and influenced each other. It was like creating an organizational chart of an invisible corporation that existed only to exploit his genius. The most disturbing aspect of the map was discovering how many apparently innocent people were connected to the network. Respected patrons who funded art were actually espionage intermediaries, seemingly friendly. Fellow artists collected information to sell to rivals. Even servants and suppliers were part of information chains that eventually reached Da Vinci's enemies. Leonardo realized he had completely underestimated the scale of threat he faced. It wasn't just a matter of some greedy assistants or envious rivals. It was an entire industry built around exploiting his genius. There were people who made their living studying his every move, every innovation, every vulnerability. The practical application of this discovery was revolutionary. Da Vinci began using his corruption map not just to protect himself, but to counterattack in ways his enemies could never anticipate. If he knew how information flowed through the network, he could control what information reached which people when it arrived and how it was interpreted. Leonardo discovered he could use the network's own structure against itself. By planting contradictory information at different points in the network, he could create internal conflicts between different espionage groups. By feeding different versions of the same discovery to different network segments, he could make different groups compete against each other instead of collaborating against him. More brilliantly, Da Vinci realized he could use the network to disseminate information that benefited him while harming his enemies. If he carefully controlled what information leaked through which channels, he could influence rivals' strategic decisions, without them ever suspecting they were being manipulated. If you've already realized how information about your projects flows through professional networks, if you've begun to suspect there's more coordination in espionage against you than you imagined, write "I see the network" in the comments. Because it was this understanding of espionage networks that prepared Da Vinci for his next level of evolution, moving from the defensive position of just protecting himself to the offensive position of becoming history's first counter-espionage master. Because it was this understanding of espionage networks that prepared Da Vinci for his next level of evolution, moving from the defensive position of just protecting himself to the offensive position of becoming history's first counter-espionage master. And it was here that Leonardo created something no genius before him had even imagined: the first completely impenetrable information fortress in humanity. Da Vinci realized that all his previous techniques, the mirror test, poisoned information, network mapping, were brilliant individual tactics, but needed to be integrated into a total protection system that functioned like complete security architecture. Leonardo didn't want to just detect occasional spies. He wanted to create an environment where espionage was literally impossible. The inspiration came from his military fortification studies. Da Vinci realized that medieval castles didn't depend on a single wall for protection. They created multiple layers of defense, each designed to neutralize different types of attack. Outer walls against sieges, moats against cavalry, watchtowers for early detection, and central keep for final resistance. If one layer failed, others would still protect the treasure. Leonardo decided to apply the same principles to information protection. Instead of relying on a single security technique, he would create multiple protection layers that would work even if one or two layers were compromised by sophisticated spies. The first layer was what Da Vinci called la barriera della confusione, the confusion barrier. Leonardo began creating false information in such volume that finding true information became like looking for a needle in a haystack of false needles. For every real project, he created 5 false but convincing projects. For every genuine technique, he developed 10 variations that seemed plausible but would lead any spy in completely wrong directions. More genially, Da Vinci made sure his false information was not just convincing, but more interesting than the real information. False projects were more spectacular, more revolutionary, more impressive than his genuine creations. Spies naturally gravitated toward the most dramatic information, leaving his real work relatively protected. The second layer was his famous scrittura speculare, mirror writing. But Leonardo didn't use reverse writing just for artistic eccentricity, as many think. It was a sophisticated security technique that served multiple protection purposes. First, it created an immediate barrier against casual reading. Spies needed mirrors and time to decipher his notes, drastically increasing detection risk. More importantly, mirror writing allowed Leonardo to insert security traps that were invisible to naked eye. He developed subtle variations in technique, some words written with slightly different angles, some letters with specific curves, that functioned as authenticity codes. Leonardo could look at any document and instantly know if it had been copied by someone who didn't completely master his writing techniques. The third layer was the most sophisticated, la compartimentazione del sapere, knowledge compartmentalization. Da Vinci never again allowed a single person to have access to complete projects. Every assistant, every collaborator, every patron received only the information fragments absolutely necessary for their specific function. Leonardo created projects like puzzles, where individual pieces were useless without knowledge of how they connected, knowledge that existed only in his mind. One assistant might know how to create a specific gear, another understood how to balance specific weights, a third mastered metallurgy techniques necessary. But none of them alone could replicate the complete invention. More brilliantly, Da Vinci created false fragments that mixed with real fragments, so that even if a spy managed to steal information from multiple sources, it would be impossible to distinguish between genuine components and traps without having the master key that only Leonardo possessed. The fourth layer was psychological, il teatro della vulnerabilità, the vulnerability theater. Da Vinci learned to carefully control what aspects of his personality and creative process were visible to different people. For assistants, he showed himself as a generous mentor, but guarded technical secrets. For patrons, he demonstrated artistic genius, but hid military capabilities. For colleagues, he revealed some techniques while protecting others. Leonardo created different versions of himself for different audiences, each real but incomplete. Spies could observe and study these versions, but would never get a complete view of his true capabilities or methods. The fifth layer was the most audacious, la fortezza mobile, the mobile fortress. Da Vinci realized that static protection would eventually be penetrated by sufficiently determined spies. So he created a dynamic protection system that constantly changed, adapted to new threats, and evolved faster than espionage networks could follow. Leonardo regularly changed his codes, his writing techniques, his compartmentalization methods, even his assistants and work locations. Whenever he suspected his defenses might have been compromised, he reformulated the entire system, making previous knowledge obsolete. The result was that Da Vinci became an impossible target. Spies might get information fragments, but these fragments were useless without context. They might decipher some codes, but these codes changed before they could be exploited. They might infiltrate some protection layers, but other layers remained intact. More importantly, Leonardo had created a system that not only protected him, but gave him strategic advantage over any adversary. He could control what information his enemies received, when they received it, and how they interpreted that information. Da Vinci was no longer just defending himself. He was orchestrating information warfare against anyone who tried to exploit his genius. If you're visualizing how you could apply similar protection layers to your own projects and creations, write "building fortress" in the comments. But Da Vinci soon discovered that having total protection wasn't enough. The next step was even more audacious, transforming his defensive capacity into offensive power, becoming not just invulnerable, but active hunter of spies. But Da Vinci soon discovered that having total protection wasn't enough. The next step was even more audacious, transforming his defensive capacity into offensive power, becoming not just invulnerable, but active hunter of spies. And it was in this final phase of his evolution that Leonardo transformed into something no genius in history had been before, the world's first spy master. The transformation happened gradually but was precipitated by a disturbing discovery that fundamentally changed how Da Vinci viewed information warfare. During one of his espionage network mappings, Leonardo realized his defensive techniques had become so effective they were forcing his enemies to increasingly desperate and dangerous methods. Instead of simply trying to steal information, espionage networks began attempting to physically destroy his ability to create. There were attempts to sabotage his laboratories, contaminate his materials, even arrange accidents that could eliminate Leonardo permanently. Da Vinci realized he had reached a point where passive defense was no longer sufficient. He needed to attack proactively to ensure his survival. Leonardo's first offensive operation was a masterpiece of psychological manipulation. He had identified a particularly persistent espionage network operating through Venice, led by a merchant named Benedetto, who specialized in buying military secrets to resell to warring armies. Instead of simply protecting himself from Benedetto, Da Vinci decided to destroy the entire operation from within. Leonardo began feeding the network a carefully coordinated series of false information that seemed incredibly valuable, weapon projects that supposedly guaranteed instant military victory. But these weren't ordinary poisoned information. Da Vinci had created what he called il veleno psicologico, psychological poison. The false information was designed not just to fail when implemented, but to fail in ways that would destroy the reputation and credibility of the entire espionage network. Leonardo planted catapult projects that would explode when tested, killing engineers who tried to build them. He created gunpowder formulas that produced impressive results in small tests, but became deadly unstable when produced in military quantities. He developed fortification techniques that seemed revolutionary, but created specific weak points that only Da Vinci knew. The result was devastating for Benedetto's network. When multiple buyers began suffering catastrophic failures with secrets they had bought from the same source, Benedetto's reputation as reliable supplier was instantly destroyed. Worse, some buyers, armies that had lost battles due to defective weapons, began actively hunting Benedetto for revenge. But Leonardo went beyond simple destruction. He had inserted traces in the false information that led investigations directly to other espionage network members. When Benedetto was captured and interrogated, the information he provided under torture led to the arrest of dozens of other spies, effectively destroying the entire Venetian operation. Da Vinci realized he had discovered something revolutionary. He could use espionage networks as weapons against themselves. Well-crafted false information didn't just protect his secrets, it could actively destroy his enemies. From this discovery, Leonardo developed what he called la guerra invisibile, the invisible war. Instead of waiting to be attacked and reacting defensively, Da Vinci began proactively identifying espionage operations directed against him and destroying them before they could cause damage. Leonardo created his own network of informants, not spies in the traditional sense, but people who observed and reported suspicious activities related to espionage against him. Merchants who noticed people asking specific questions about Da Vinci, artisans who were approached by strangers wanting technical information, even servants in rival houses who could report when conversations about Leonardo happened. More sophisticatedly, Da Vinci began infiltrating his own operations into enemy networks. He identified spies working against him and, instead of exposing them, secretly converted them into double agents. Leonardo fed these converted spies with information that seemed genuine but actually benefited him while harming his enemies. The most brilliant aspect of the strategy was its invisibility. Victims of Leonardo's operations never knew they were being attacked. They simply experienced a series of misfortunes, information that proved false, investments that failed, alliances that fell apart. To external observers, it seemed like bad luck or incompetence. Only Da Vinci knew he was systematically orchestrating his enemy's destruction. Leonardo also developed poisonous feedback loop techniques, systems where false information he planted led his enemies to take actions that provided him with real information about their operations, capabilities, and future plans. It was like creating mirrors that reflected his adversary's intentions back to him. Da Vinci became so sophisticated in counter-espionage that he began anticipating enemy operations before they were even completely planned. By observing patterns in information collection attempts, he could deduce what types of projects his enemies were developing and what types of intelligence they would need to complete them. More frighteningly, Leonardo discovered he could influence rivals' strategic decisions by carefully controlling what information leaked to them. If he wanted an enemy army to attack a certain position, he could plant false information suggesting that position was vulnerable. If he wanted to discourage development of certain technologies, he could leak data suggesting those technologies were impossible or dangerous. The final result was that Da Vinci transformed into something unprecedented in history, a creative genius who was also absolute master of psychological warfare and information manipulation. His enemies didn't just fail to steal his secrets, they were systematically destroyed for trying. If you're realizing how strategic information can be used not just for protection, but to control adversaries, write "invisible war" in the comments. But all these information warfare techniques Leonardo developed 500 years ago are even more powerful today when applied to the modern digital world. But all these information warfare techniques Leonardo developed 500 years ago are even more powerful today when applied to the modern digital world. And what will shock you most is discovering how Da Vinci's methods work with frightening precision to detect and neutralize corporate spies, digital saboteurs, and intellectual property predators in the 21st century. The genius of Leonardo's systems wasn't just in their technical sophistication, but in their deep understanding of human psychology behind espionage. Modern spies use digital technology, but operate with the same basic psychological motivations, the same behavioral patterns, and the same vulnerabilities Da Vinci identified 5 centuries ago. Human nature hasn't evolved, only the tools have changed. Leonardo's mirror test works perfectly in modern corporate meetings. When you share an innovative idea in a video conference, carefully observe the type of questions different participants ask in the first minutes. Colleagues genuinely interested in collaboration ask questions about principles, creative applications, how the idea connects to larger projects. They want to understand the vision behind innovation. Corporate spies ask completely different questions, always focused on practical implementation. What would be the implementation timeline? What type of specific resources would be necessary? Would this idea work if applied in other contexts? Who else knows this approach? These are questions that reveal replication agenda, not collaboration. They want information they can take elsewhere, not contribute to current project. Leonardo's technique adapts brilliantly to startup and entrepreneurship environments. During investor pitches, observe who asks questions about your future vision versus who wants details about your competition, commercial secrets, or operational vulnerabilities. Genuine investors want to understand your growth potential and impact. Spy investors disguised want to map your weak points for later exploitation. Da Vinci's poisoned information is devastatingly effective in the digital world, where you can track information flow with precision Leonardo never dreamed possible. You can create false but convincing versions of strategic documents, each with unique digital signatures that allow tracking exactly where they leak when appearing in wrong hands. Financial spreadsheets with slightly different numbers for different people. Presentations with modified timelines distributed to specific departments. Technical projects with altered specifications sent to suspicious consultants. When this false information appears in competitors or leaks publicly, you know instantly not just that you were infiltrated, but by whom, when, and through what channels your secrets are flowing. It's like having unique DNA in each sensitive information piece that allows complete forensic investigation of corporate leaks. Modern technology makes this technique even more powerful because you can insert invisible markings in digital documents, use different presentation versions for different audiences, and monitor shared file access to identify suspicious patterns. Leonardo's network mapping reveals something frightening about modern corporate espionage. It frequently operates through unconsciously coordinated networks, exactly as Da Vinci discovered. That colleague who asks too many questions about your client's strategies isn't necessarily connected to the competitor trying to recruit your team members, but both might be feeding information to the same consultant specializing in competitive intelligence. You can create multiple versions of false information, each marked differently, and distribute them to different people or through different channels. When this information appears externally, you can map exactly how espionage works in your company, your sector, even your personal, professional contact network. Leonardo's information fortresses translate perfectly to modern cybersecurity and intellectual property protection. Never allow a single person complete access to critical projects. Use different cloud storage systems for different aspects of the same project. Maintain offline backups only you can access. Develop codes, terminologies, and internal languages that would be useless to external spies without complete context. Da Vinci's compartmentalization is essential for protecting innovations in modern collaborative environments. Your development team can perfectly understand user interface. Your back-end team can completely master technical architecture. Your designers can intimately know visual experience. But only you connect these pieces into a complete vision that would be impossible to replicate without your mental master key. Leonardo's vulnerability theater adapts perfectly to corporate social media and professional digital presence. Your LinkedIn should show achievements and thought leadership, but not reveal specific methodologies or proprietary strategies. Your conference presentations can demonstrate expertise and vision, but without exposing commercial secrets or differentiated techniques. Your interviews can establish industry authority without delivering information competitors could use against you. Da Vinci's invisible war is frighteningly relevant for modern corporate counter-espionage. When identifying digital espionage attempts or information leaks, don't block or expel immediately. Use this as strategic opportunity to feed disinformation that will harm your competitors while protecting your real plans and capabilities. If you suspect an employee or collaborator is leaking information to competitors, instead of confronting or firing them immediately, consider transforming them into controlled disinformation channel. Feed them false but convincing strategies that will lead competitors to waste resources, time, and energy in completely wrong directions. The most sophisticated application is using Leonardo's techniques to influence market decisions and competitive behavior. If you carefully control what information leaks about your future products, technology development, or expansion strategies, you can direct competitors to develop offerings that complement rather than directly compete with your true long-term strategy. Leonardo's feedback loop techniques work perfectly for modern competitive intelligence. By observing what types of information competitors try to collect about you, what questions they ask, which employees they try to recruit, what aspects of your business they research, you can deduce what they're planning, where their weaknesses are, and what disruptive strategies would be most effective against their operations. The genius of applying Leonardo's methods today lies in their total invisibility. Competitors experience a series of inexplicable setbacks. They invest in technologies that don't work as expected, hire people who don't add anticipated value, develop products that fail in the market, pursue strategies that prove fruitless. They never suspect they're being systematically sabotaged through their own information collection networks. The most powerful aspect is that Leonardo's techniques create invisible, sustainable, competitive advantage. It's not just about protecting what you have, It's about actively controlling what your adversaries know when they discover it, how they interpret information about your sector, and what decisions they make based on this controlled information. Modern digital tools make Da Vinci's techniques exponentially more powerful. Digital watermarking can track document usage with precision Leonardo never imagined. Analytics can reveal behavioral patterns in information requests that instantly identify espionage attempts. AI can automate creation of convincing false information at scale that would overwhelm any spying operation. If you're visualizing how to apply these Leonardo techniques to your current projects and professional environment, if you recognize that information warfare happens silently in every modern sector, write "Applying Leonardo today" in the comments. Because now we reach Leonardo's deepest and most disturbing legacy, not just his protection and counter-espionage techniques, but his final wisdom about when certain creations are too powerful to exist without absolute protection. Because now we reach Leonardo's deepest and most disturbing legacy, not just his protection and counter-espionage techniques, but his final wisdom about when certain creations are too powerful to exist without absolute protection. And this final discovery of Leonardo reveals something that will forever change how you think about the relationship between genius, responsibility, and power. In his final years, when Da Vinci had become absolute master of counter-espionage and information protection, when his invisible warfare techniques had neutralized practically all espionage networks directed against him, Leonardo made a discovery that shocked him more deeply than any human betrayal he had faced before. Da Vinci realized that his own protection techniques had worked so well that he had become free to create without limitations, and this absolute freedom had led him to develop technologies so dangerous they threatened humanity's very existence. Leonardo had transcended the limits of what was safe for any human mind to know. During his protected years, working in absolute secrecy, Da Vinci had solved problems that tormented scientists for centuries. He had created flying machines that actually worked, not the romantic projects we see in museums, but military aircraft capable of devastating bombardment. He developed chemical weapons that could exterminate entire armies. He designed automated war machines that would kill without need for human soldiers. More astounding, Leonardo had begun understanding energy principles that wouldn't be officially discovered until the 20th century. He had developed theories about matter manipulation at levels we would today call atomic. He had prototypes of machines that amplified human strength to levels that could demolish entire cities. And more disturbing, he had begun understanding how human mind could be manipulated through techniques that would make his psychological warfare seem like child's play. But it was during a night of reflection in 1515, observing the devastating results of one of his chemical weapons tested secretly, that Da Vinci had an epiphany that terrified him. He realized he had become the most dangerous man in human history, not from malice, but from competence. His creations had power sufficient to change civilization's destiny, and there was no guarantee they would always be in the right hands. Leonardo began questioning something no genius before him had considered. Are there discoveries that should never be made? Is there knowledge that is intrinsically too dangerous to exist, regardless of who possesses it? Is a genius's supreme responsibility knowing when to stop creating? The answer Da Vinci reached fundamentally changed his relationship with his own genius. Leonardo realized that true wisdom wasn't just in being able to create anything, but in consciously choosing what not to create. Supreme power wasn't the capacity to invent, but the discipline to restrain himself when necessary. Da Vinci began systematically destroying his most dangerous projects, not just hiding or protecting them, but literally erasing them from existence. He burned years of chemical weapons research. He destroyed prototypes of machines that could be used for mass assassination. He completely eliminated his discoveries about psychological manipulation on population scale. But Leonardo went beyond simple destruction. He developed what he called la saggezza dell'oblio, the key, wisdom of forgetting. Da Vinci began training his own mind to literally forget certain discoveries, to erase knowledge from his own memory when he perceived that knowledge was too dangerous to continue existing. The process was painful beyond imagination. Leonardo was voluntarily mutilating his own genius, forcing himself to forget discoveries that could have made his name immortal. He was consciously choosing to be remembered as lesser than he really was, to protect humanity from himself. Da Vinci also realized some of his counter-espionage techniques were too powerful to be taught. Psychological manipulation methods he had developed for self-defense could be used by smaller people for destructive purposes. Information warfare techniques that protected him could be applied to bring down governments or destroy entire societies. Leonardo made the most difficult decision of his life: to die with secrets. Not from selfishness or paranoia, but from love for humanity. Da Vinci chose to take to the grave knowledge that could have revolutionized the world because he understood not every revolution is beneficial. The notebooks Leonardo left for posterity contain only a fraction of his true genius. The inventions we see in museums are toys compared to creations he consciously erased from history. The techniques we study today are fragments of complete techniques he developed and then destroyed. Da Vinci realized he had learned the supreme lesson about power, that true power isn't in using all your capabilities, but in having wisdom to restrain yourself when necessary. That supreme genius includes knowing when to stop being genius. The deepest lesson Leonardo left wasn't in his preserved notebooks, but in his decision of what not to preserve. Da Vinci proved it's possible to be simultaneously history's greatest genius and the most responsible guardian of genius consequences. This Leonardo wisdom is more relevant today than ever. We live in an era where artificial intelligence, biotechnology, nanotechnology, and other scientific discoveries are creating capabilities that could be more dangerous than anything Da Vinci imagined. The question Leonardo asked himself 500 years ago is the same we face now: how to distinguish between progress that benefits humanity and discoveries that could destroy it. Da Vinci understood that supreme protection isn't just about defending your creations from spies and saboteurs. It's about protecting humanity from unintended consequences of unlimited genius. It's about having courage to say no to your own capabilities when necessary. Leonardo's final legacy isn't that he created wonders, but that he consciously chose not to create certain wonders that would be nightmares. Da Vinci proved that true creative responsibility includes destructive responsibility, knowing when to destroy your own creations to protect the world. If you understand that true creative power includes wisdom about when not to create, if you recognize that protection sometimes means protecting the world from your own capabilities, write supreme wisdom in the comments. Because Leonardo's final lesson is that when you learn to completely protect your creations, you become responsible not just for what you create, but for what you choose not to create. And this might be the most important decision any genius ever makes. And now, my friend, we reach the most decisive moment of this journey through history's most protected mind. If you've come this far, if you felt every word of this transformation of Da Vinci from naive victim to absolute master of counter-espionage, if you recognized espionage patterns you might never have perceived in your own professional life, you are not an ordinary person. You are someone who understood Leonardo's supreme lesson, that true genius isn't just in creating without limits, but in having wisdom to protect your creations and responsibility to know when certain knowledge is too powerful to be shared imprudently. But here's what separates people who just watch this wisdom from people who actually transform their lives applying these methods. The moment of commitment. The moment where you decide whether you'll return to life as usual, vulnerable to modern spies and intellectual property predators, or apply Da Vinci's techniques to become someone completely protected and strategically powerful. First, if you felt something deep watching this evolution of Da Vinci, if you recognize it's time to protect your ideas and creations from modern corporate spies, subscribe to the channel now. It's not just to receive notifications of upcoming videos, It's to declare that you're part of a rare community of people who chose to apply the wisdom of history's greatest masters to shield their own creativity and intellectual property. You're saying you refuse to continue being an ordinary person who accepts having their ideas stolen, projects copied, innovations inspiring competitors. You're joining minds who understand that in the modern world, intellectual protection isn't paranoia, it's strategic survival. Second, in the comments, write exactly like this. I protect like Leonardo, if you're ready to apply Da Vinci's methods in your professional and creative life. When you write this publicly, you're not just commenting, you're committing to a more protected and strategically powerful version of yourself. You're validating that your creations have sufficient value to deserve sophisticated protection, that you're ready to think like a counter-espionage master, and that you understand the responsibility that comes with powerful knowledge. Mainly, you're connecting with thousands of other brilliant minds who decided to stop being intellectual espionage victims. Third, leave your like on this video now. This like isn't just a number. It's your signature on the contract with a version of you that will never again accept being exploited, spied on, or sabotaged. It's your way of saying, yes, I deserve total protection. I'm ready to apply Da Vinci's wisdom in the digital age. And finally, click on the video appearing on your screen now. It's the direct continuation of this masterclass, where I'll reveal how Nikola Tesla developed even more advanced techniques to detect saboteurs and genius predators. If Da Vinci's methods opened your eyes to corporate espionage, Tesla's discoveries will give you a complete arsenal to identify and neutralize any type of modern sabotage. Tesla went beyond Da Vinci. He not only protected his inventions, he transformed sabotage attempts into fuel for even more revolutionary innovations. He discovered how to use predators' envy and greed as energy for his own protected creativity. Remember, Da Vinci spent decades being spied on and sabotaged before developing these techniques. You just learned in 20 minutes what cost history's greatest genius years of suffering and experimentation. Your transformation from intellectual espionage victim to creative protection master begins exactly now. Click the next video and complete your education in counter-espionage using methods developed by humanity's greatest geniuses. See you on the other side, future master of intellectual protection.